On a bright Saturday morning, my dad decided it was finally time to treat himself to a new phone. He had been using his old one for years, and it was starting to show its age. The screen was cracked, the battery barely lasted a few hours, and the once snappy performance had become sluggish. He had saved up for months, carefully researching the latest models and comparing features. Today was the day he would make his purchase. We drove to the city's largest electronics store, a place bustling with activity. The store was filled with eager customers, each of them excited about the latest gadgets and technology. Dad headed straight to the smartphone section, his eyes lighting up as he surveyed the array of sleek devices on display. "Which one are you thinking of getting?" I asked, watching as he examined the different models. "I've had my eye on this one," he said, pointing to a high-end phone with a large display and impressive specs. "It has everything I need and more." He spoke with a sales associate who confirmed that the phone was indeed one of the best on the market. After a bit of paperwork and a swipe of his credit card, Dad was the proud owner of a brand new smartphone. He couldn't stop smiling as we left the store, his new phone carefully tucked into his jacket pocket. On the way home, he was like a kid on Christmas morning, unboxing the phone and marveling at its sleek design. He set it up, transferring his contacts and apps, and customized it with his favorite wallpaper. The drive was filled with the sounds of his excitement as he explored the phone's features. Back home, Dad continued to play with his new gadget, testing out the camera, downloading apps, and setting up his email. He called a few friends to share the news and sent some texts to show off his new purchase. The phone was everything he had hoped for, and he was thrilled. In the afternoon, Dad decided to run some errands. He had a few things to pick up from the grocery store and wanted to stop by the hardware store to get some supplies for a weekend project. He took his new phone with him, eager to show it off to anyone who might be interested. He drove to the grocery store first, picking up the items on his list. As he reached the checkout line, he absent-mindedly placed his phone on the counter while he paid for his groceries. With his bags in hand, he walked back to the car, completely forgetting about his phone. Next, he headed to the hardware store. He spent a good hour there, selecting the tools and materials he needed. It wasn't until he got back into the car and reached for his phone that he realized it was missing. Panic set in as he frantically searched his pockets, the car seats, and the bags of groceries. But the phone was nowhere to be found. "Did I leave it at the grocery store?" he muttered to himself, trying to retrace his steps. He rushed back to the grocery store, hoping against hope that someone had found it and turned it in. He approached the customer service desk, his heart pounding. "Excuse me. I think I left my phone here. Has anyone turned in a phone?" he asked, his voice tinged with desperation. The clerk checked the lost and found, but shook her head. "I'm sorry, sir. No one has turned in a phone today." Dad's shoulders slumped in defeat. He felt a wave of frustration and helplessness wash over him. How could he have been so careless? He had only had the phone for a few hours, and now it was gone. He drove back home, his excitement replaced by a heavy sense of disappointment. When he walked through the door, I could tell something was wrong. "What happened?" I asked, seeing the look on his face. "I lost my phone," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "I think I left it at the grocery store, but it's not there." I could see how upset he was, and it broke my heart. "We'll find it, Dad. Let's go back and check again. Maybe someone picked it up and hasn't turned it in yet." We drove back to the grocery store, combing through the parking lot, the aisles, and the checkout area. We even asked a few employees if they had seen anything, but our search was fruitless. The phone was gone. Over the next few days, Dad called the grocery store and the hardware store multiple times, hoping for any news about his phone. He also checked online forums and local lost and found websites, but there were no leads. Each day without his phone deepened his disappointment. Mom tried to console him, reminding him that it was just a phone and could be replaced. But Dad felt the loss deeply. It wasn't just the monetary value, it was the excitement and joy he had felt, the sense of accomplishment in finally getting something he had wanted for so long. Now, that joy was overshadowed by the frustration of losing it so soon. A week passed, and Dad began to accept that his phone was gone for good. He went back to using his old phone, its cracked screen and slow performance, a constant reminder of his lost new one. He was more careful with it now, making sure he always knew where it was. One evening, as we were having dinner, there was a knock on the door. I got up to answer it and was surprised to see a young woman standing there, holding a familiar-looking phone. "Hi, I'm sorry to bother you," she said. "I found this phone at the grocery store last week. I tried to figure out who it belonged to but couldn't unlock it. I saw a post online about a lost phone and thought it might be yours." I called Dad over, and his eyes widened when he saw the phone. "That's it! That's my phone!" he exclaimed. The woman smiled. "I'm glad I found the right person. I'm sorry it took so long to get it back to you." Dad was overjoyed. He thanked her profusely and offered her a reward, but she refused. "I'm just happy to help," she said before leaving. With his phone back in his hands, Dad was beaming. The sense of relief and happiness was palpable. He immediately backed up all his data and set up a tracking app, just in case. From that day on, he was extra careful with his phone, never letting it out of his sight. The experience taught him a valuable lesson about mindfulness and responsibility. It also reinforced the idea that there are good people in the world willing to go out of their way to help others. Dad's gratitude for the kind stranger who returned his phone was immense, and he made a point to pay it forward whenever he could. Life returned to normal, but the story of the lost and found phone became a family legend. It was a reminder of the unexpected challenges life can throw our way and the surprising kindness of strangers. For Dad, it was a lesson in resilience and the importance of staying positive, even when things go wrong. And so, the story of the lost phone ended on a happy note, with Dad cherishing his new device even more. It was a reminder that sometimes, even when we lose something valuable, the experience can teach us important lessons and bring unexpected joys. However, the story didn't end there. With his newfound appreciation for his phone, Dad began exploring its capabilities more deeply. He started using it for more than just calls and messages. He discovered the world of mobile photography, capturing beautiful moments and sharing them with family and friends. His pictures were stunning, and he even entered a few local photography contests, winning accolades and praise for his work. Dad also delved into various productivity apps, organizing his work and personal life more efficiently. He found joy in tracking his fitness goals, exploring new recipes, and staying connected with loved ones through video calls. The phone became an integral part of his daily routine, enhancing his life in ways he hadn't anticipated. One day, while browsing through a local community group on social media, Dad came across a post from the woman who had returned his phone. She was organizing a charity event to help underprivileged children and was looking for volunteers. Remembering her kindness, Dad felt compelled to help. He reached out to her and offered his assistance. The charity event was a huge success, thanks in part to Dad's efforts. He helped organize activities, set up booths, and even used his photography skills to capture the event, creating a beautiful album that was shared with the community. The experience was rewarding, and Dad felt a deep sense of fulfillment knowing he was giving back. The bond between our family and the woman who returned the phone grew stronger. She became a family friend, often joining us for dinners and outings. Her act of kindness had set off a chain reaction of goodwill, bringing our community closer together. Months passed, and the story of the lost and found phone continued to inspire those around us. Dad's experience was a testament to the power of gratitude and the impact of small acts of kindness. It reminded us all to cherish what we have and to look out for one another. In the end, the lost phone was more than just a device. It was a catalyst, for positive change. It brought new opportunities, strengthened relationships, and created lasting memories. Dad's journey from losing his phone to rediscovering it taught us valuable lessons about resilience, mindfulness, and the beauty of unexpected joys.